you will get. And just to say again, we will start new topics in science and geography next week because you have finished the topics we were studying. So in history, we are doing World War II, as you all know. And we touched about the Holocaust. We touched on the Holocaust and Frank in the last history lesson. So your learning objective today is to revise what the Holocaust was and to show a clear understanding of settings and language in a text. And you will write imaginatively and descriptively about the setting of a text. Now, this lesson is both history and English, okay? It's 2 lessons in one. So let's start. First of all, before we start, put your hand up if you can remember who Anne Frank was. Oh, let's go with Alexandra. Tell me, who's Anne Frank?
Anne Frank is a Jewish girl.
Yes.
Which was what?
Yes, she was a Jewish girl.
Which was hiding with her family in Amsterdam.
Who was hiding with her family in Amsterdam? Lila, tell me something else about Anne Frank.
Anne Frank wrote a diary of what was happening, and later on people found the diary and they sold it to the whole world.
Okay, yes, that's also correct. Lisa, tell me something else about Anne Frank that you remember.
The only member in Anne Frank's family that survived after the concentration camp was Otto Frank, her father.
Well done, you even remembered the name. Fabulous. And the last one is Kenzie.
Yeah. She died from a sickness, and her sister died only a few days apart.
Exactly. Well done, guys. So let's start to look a bit about World War II. Just a really quick revision. So Germany started World War II by invading Poland on September the 1st, 1939. It was all because Germany's leader, Adolf Hitler, wanted to expand German territory. So Adolf Hitler wanted more land. He wanted to gain more for Germany. And his Nazi party wanted to make a state. They wanted to create a state with only certain kinds of people in it. And this led to the Holocaust. Now, if you remember from the last lesson, Lucas made a really good point that his father told him. Hitler only wanted a certain kind of people. If you were not perfect to Hitler, he didn't want you. So, as Lucas said, Hitler thought that people with blonde hair and blue eyes and were not Jewish were the perfect kind of person for Germany. Now, that meant that people like Lucas would be safe. He wouldn't be targeted, he wouldn't be bullied. Hitler was not being prejudiced against people like Lucas. People like me, however, with brown hair, slightly darker skin, I would be targeted. I was not Hitler's perfect citizen. Lisa, tell me.
I wanted to say that actually being like blonde like Luca and having all those things that Hitler would like was really rare.
It was really rare, but although that wasn't the only thing that Lucas made a really good point. That was one of the things. Although if you were Jewish and blonde hair, blue-eyed, you weren't so lucky. Anyway, Britain and France answered Germany by declaring war on the 3rd of September 1939. Germany conquered Poland, so they won against Poland and continued to invade the surrounding countries. And these included the Netherlands, it included Belgium, Luxembourg, and even France. And World War II lasted 1939 until 1945. And all the world's major countries were involved in World War II. World War II was the most destructive war in history, and millions of people were killed. So many people were killed in this war, millions and millions, that it became the most deadliest, the biggest war in history. Now, we've already touched on these points in class before we went into lockdown. But before I move on to the next slide, are there any questions? No? Okay. So a little bit of more revision about the Holocaust that we looked at last week. So the Nazis blamed Jewish people for all the problems in Germany and started killing the Jewish people in a campaign called the Holocaust. So anything that went wrong in Germany, the Germans, or rather the Nazi Party, they blamed the Jewish people. Even if it wasn't their fault, it was still always the Jewish people's fault. And the Holocaust, it means murder on a huge scale of Jewish people and other people that the Nazi Party did not like. So if you were someone that the Nazi Party did not like, you would be targeted and you would be part of that Holocaust. Hitler was prejudiced against many people and made lots of people hate, mainly Jewish people, through propaganda and anti-Semitism. So put your hands up to explain the word prejudice to me. Come on, hands up. What does prejudice mean? Kenzie.
Prejudice means like someone that hates someone else and is really mean to them, but not mean to other people.
Okay, anyone else have a different definition of prejudice? Where's Luca? Tell me, Luca.
Prejudice means for example, what you said, if everyone blames it on one person to do it, but actually it wasn't him or her at all, it was actually another person, but they will still, for anyway, just blame it on them.
Exactly, so a kind of scapegoat as well. Right, Lisa, I want you to tell me what the word propaganda means.
Propaganda is a thing that a person would do, for example, to not really blame someone, but like make everyone feel or make a brainwash to everyone about those people or that person.
Brainwash, yes, exactly. And in what kind of ways could they release propaganda? Remember, you did it about women in the war.
Yes.
So what kind of
Yes.
ways could you do this propaganda?
there was different ways. There were like actually the only word for propaganda is to not. It's something like encourage, but there can be an encourage in a bad way or encourage in a good way.
Okay, so you could do it through radio, you could do it through TV by handing out leaflets, you could do it through newspapers, through leaflets. Oh, my mouse is gone. I want to ask Mustafa a question. Yes, Mustafa? Do you have any more thoughts on propaganda or prejudice?
Prejudice means like to take on someone's opinion.
Exactly. So just because they don't think your way, you're prejudiced against them because you don't like them. Remember the two bananas? One didn't look perfect and the other one looked perfect. But fundamentally, deep down, inside, those bananas are actually exactly the same. Now, finally, a bit of a tricky one for Tariq. Can you tell me, or even remember, what anti-Semitism means? It was in the previous lesson.
Like
Are you having problems with sound? Put your hand up quickly if you remember what anti-Semitism means before we move on. Laila.
I think Semitism means hostage. Like they're held hostage against Jewish people.
Yeah, so basically everything that happened against the Jewish people was called anti-Semitism. So the Holocaust, it began with the idea that a certain group of people were better than others. Remember the horrible looking banana and the nice looking banana. Everyone in the Nazi party liked the nice looking banana against the horrible looking banana. Nadim. Nadim,
Yes?
your hand was up.
Was it?
Oh, okay, don't worry, I've muted you. So Jewish people, and this is something I didn't teach you about in the previous lesson, Jewish people had to wear a star on their clothes so that people knew who they were. And the picture of the star is in the top right of this slide. All Jewish people had no choice but to wear this yellow star so that people knew that they were Jewish. And the Jewish people, as we touched in the last lesson, were sent to concentration camps where they were treated as slaves. Not only this, they were also tortured. They were tortured and treated as slaves, and they had to do so many things that were exhausting, loads of hard work, and most people died or were killed in these concentration camps. It was a very, very sad, horrific time. Any questions before the next slide? No. Okay, so let's look at, Lucas has a question. Yes, Lucas?
Like Miss Kylie,
Yeah.
I wanted to say, were the children also sent to the concentration camps?
Yes, children were also sent. And the sad thing about this was, even though they were sent, they still had to do lots of hard work when they got there. And there was no guarantee that these children were sent with their parents. So they could have been separated. It could have been the last time ever that they saw their parents. It was horrific. It was so sad. And all because they were Jewish, or all because the Nazi party decided, I don't like them.
Oh,
Awful.
that's sad.
It's so sad. And you can actually visit these concentration camps today, and they are really sad. You can almost feel them. This is why the diary of Anne Frank is so significant, because it tells you of the real things that happened during this time. And Nadim,
Miss, what if the people didn't wear the yellow star? What would they do?
they had to. They had no choice, because if the army or the Nazis or anybody checked and found that they were Nazis, there was no way of hiding it. They had their ways to see who was lying, who was hiding. And for that reason, Anne Frank and her family went to hide, because you had no choice but to wear these badges. There was no way that you couldn't wear these badges. The army had their way of checking if you were Jewish or not Jewish. Lisa, I'm looking for you. Yes, Lisa?
Miss, did Anne Frank and her family wear those stars?
Well, yes, if they were not hiding, they would have had to wear those stars. If they were not hiding, but they were hiding, so no one really saw them or knew about them until they were caught. But they would have had to wear those stars if they were not hiding. And also, I'm not sure in the concentration camps, but I believe that also in the concentration camps they would have had to wear the stars to tell them apart from the non-Jewish and the Jewish. Kenzie?
Yes, Miss Heidi. In the documentary, it was really interesting, and it said that they were hiding in the annex, and they had 8 people in the same house. It was on top of a building that it was their dad's company building or something, and they had a little house up there. They were hiding there for 2 years, and they never went down. And her dad also had 4 clients, and they would bring food and everything to the annex so that they can eat and survive.
Yeah, you're right. We're going to look at that now. So, really quickly, let's look at Anne Frank and the Holocaust. So, the Diary of Anne Frank is the first and probably the only coverage, so the only documentation many people have to the history of the Holocaust. Anne Frank was a Jewish girl who lived in the Netherlands, where Lucas is from. And she was forced to hide with her family when the Nazis started when they started capturing the Jewish people to send them to concentration camps. Anne and her family hid in the annex of her father's office for 2 years. Now, for Anne's 13th birthday, just before they went into hiding, she was given a diary as a present. Her present for her 13th birthday of her parents was a nice little diary. And Anne wrote about everything that happened, including her feelings. She wrote about her thoughts. She wrote about life in this secret annex. And she wrote about what life was like in general, where they were hiding. Anne and everyone else who was hiding with her, unfortunately, were found in the summer of 1944. They were found, but no one knows how they were found. No one knows what made the army decide to look in the annex of this office to find all these people hiding. Until today, We still do not know what led the army up there to catch them. So today her book is extremely famous, and it is famous because it tells people what life was like for some Jewish people as it was actually written by a Jewish person themselves. Now, Lila, you have your hand up.
Miss Carla, I actually have a question. Were Jewish people were only sent to the camps?
Well, they were either sent to the camps or they were killed.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But were only in the concentration camps? Were there only Jewish people, or were there other people?
No, there were other people as well, but mainly Jewish people. Nadim.
Miss, where did they find Annie's book?
We'll touch on that in a minute. I'm going to explain everything to you. But guys, if you manage to find this book or a story or the film, watch it because it's incredible. Lisa?
When I was searching for some like information, I saw that there was this. It said Annie's Frank's diary, a movie of something like
Yes, there is a movie. There is a movie. But before you watch the movie, I want your parents to check it to see if they allow you to watch it. If not, give me a day and I will find an appropriate version of the movie for you to watch. And you will really like it. It's very sad. And you know how much Miss Kylie cries at sad films. But it's a good movie and I will find you a link. Lucas?
Okay. Wait, I'm unmuted by the host. Okay. Miss Kylie,
Yes.
I just was talking to my dad right now to know something, but he said that she's from Holland as well, and that she didn't only live there, and that in her book she wrote it in Dutch. Dutch.
Yes, her book was originally written in Dutch, and she moved to the Netherlands. I will explain all about that. So she's not originally from there. She moved there to be safe, but actually she wasn't safe in the end. And I will explain all that to you in the coming slides. We have one more question from Yusuf. Yusuf?
I don't have a question.
No, I'm sure someone put their hand up. Guys, there's 10 minutes left. If the line cuts, I'm going to send you another link so we can finish this lesson. Okay, so next slide. This is Anne Frank's family. Now, we have Otto Frank. He was Anne Frank's father. We have Edith Frank, who was Anne Frank's mother. And we have Margot Frank, who was the sister of Anne Frank. And these pictures at the bottom are all pictures of Anne Frank. So you can see she was a young girl, she was a teenager. This is a real picture of the diary that she was given for her 13th birthday. And this was the diary that she was writing in every day, documenting how she felt, her thoughts, what was happening in her life in hiding, and what was happening with the people that were hiding with her. So it was very, very significant. Yusuf M, you have a question?
It was actually me that asked the question in the beginning, not Yusuf A.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tell me.
It's actually in the video said that before they were caught, there was a robbery in the shop underneath them.
Okay, so maybe that's what took them to the attic of her father's office. Yes, maybe they're not, well, who knows what happened? I haven't heard that, but well done, guys, for watching the video. Very, very proud. So, Anne Frank and her family were not hiding alone. There were other people that were also hiding. We have Mrs. Van Pels, and in Anne's diary, she was called Van Dans. We have Peter Van Pels, we have Mr. Van Pels, and we have Franz Pfeffer. Okay, these were all people that were not part of Anne Frank's family, but they were hiding with Anne Frank. Lisa, I'm just looking for you. Lisa, you have your hand up. I can't find you. Let's go with Kenzie and then I'll find Lisa. Kenzie?
Yeah, miss. Actually, Mr. Brand the old man down there. In the video, it said she shared a room with him, and when she got older, she fell in love with Peter Van Pels.
Yeah, well done. You listened carefully. You listened carefully. Well done. We have Lucas with a question.
I can actually guarantee you that these people are Dutch, because in Holland, if they are Dutch, they don't say just Pels, because in English it would be Mr. Pels, but in Dutch it would be Van. It's always Van before the last name, so it's Mr. Van Pels and Mrs. Van Pels and Peter Van Pels, and Peter would be called Peter, a very normal Dutch name.
Peter.
Peter, yes.
Peter.
That's
Well,
a
Lucas, you're
very
teaching
common
me.
Dutch name.
Oh, well, you're teaching me something. Well done. Thank you for
I
that.
just wanted to tell you that.
No, it's very interesting. Thank you. And we have another question from Alex.
When I was watching the video, I heard that she was sharing her room with one dentist. She called him Mr. Idiot.
Okay. I think it's one of these guys, because she did share a room with another man, right? Lisa, you keep putting your hands up, darling, and I can't find you. Kenzie?
Yeah. Actually, I said that, but it wasn't Mrs. Van Pels. It was the other one. It was Franz something. Franz Tesser.
Yeah, the guy in the
That's
bottom
the
right.
dentist. That's the dentist.
So Alexandra, Franz Pfeffer is the guy you are talking about. Lisa, I found you. Give me your question.
Actually, that's what I was trying to say, that Anne Frank was calling Franz Pfeffer idiot. But actually, I asked Luca in the chat, how do you say idiot in Dutch? And he told me it's nearly the same. It's like just with two O's.
Okay. Lucas, how do you say idiot in Dutch?
Should I say how it is?
Yes, please.
Idioot.
Idiot. Idiot. Now, I
If
don't
you would
want
say to someone, you're an idiot in Dutch, you would say, je bent echt een idioot.
Je bent echt een idioot.
Yes,
Right,
that would
guys.
be like too if you say it to someone. And
Right,
that's
guys.
also if it's like mean, but that's just sometimes.
Okay, year 5. Nobody is to repeat that sentence. Miss Kylie just had a little lesson in Dutch. Okay, but I don't want to hear any of you repeating that phrase. And to be honest, I've forgotten it already. You bedoet und idoet. Something like that. Anyway, so let's move on to the next slide. Let's have a little summary about Anne Frank's story. Now there's 3 minutes left. Like I said, if the line drops, I'll be sending you another link. So in the spring of 1942, Anne's father started furnishing a hiding place in the attic of his office. So he started bringing furniture. He started making it a comfortable place. The hiding place was very small and very cramped, as there were 4 more people hiding with them. This made it 8 people hiding in a very small, cramped place in order for them not to get caught. Everybody always had to be extremely quiet, and they were always afraid that they might be caught. So 8 people in a tiny room. You could say that the whole place might be as big as the Year 5 classroom. And for 8 people to live in there for 2 years and constantly be quiet, it was quite nerve-wracking. It was a difficult place to be. So during the 2 years that they were all hiding, Anne kept writing in her diary that she got for her 13th birthday. She wrote about her feelings, she wrote about her thoughts, and she even wrote short stories, as this all helped her to pass time. So she was so bored that writing in her diary gave her something to do instead of just being bored and sitting there for 2 years. And in the summer of 1944, Anne and the other people hiding were caught and arrested. The police also arrested 2 people who were helping them by bringing them food and the necessities they needed to live during this time in hiding. Right, guys, the line is now going to cut. Stay where you are, because in less than a minute, I will be sending you another link. Okay, so I'll see you in just a few minutes.